Welcome to the Record Machine Show podcast. And now, here's your host, James Michael Hollenstein.
It is with great enthusiasm that we introduce an exceptional program today. Diane Dubois and Kevin Hunter, the Transatlantic duo known as Lunar Paths and significant figures in the original UK Northern Goth scene, will be interviewed. Their distinctive musical style, defined by memorable hooks, intricate percussion, and haunting vocals, reflects influences from both goth and alternative indie music. We will begin the show by playing their latest single, Scene.
Shine so bright.
You just listened to Seen, the latest single by Lunar Paths. And we are pleased to have Diane and Kevin on the line for an exclusive interview. All right, so how are you guys doing today?
We're good. Busy as ever, I think. Kevin, how are you doing?
Well, my day is kind of just starting. The second coffee's just gone, so it's looking pretty good so far.
You're a coffee drinker, Kev?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Me too.
Me 3.
I think I've had 3 already since 6 a.m. So where are you guys from originally?
Well, I was born in Canada.
Okay.
But then I moved to the UK when I was, I think, about 12 or something like that. And we moved to Yorkshire. And this is the part of the world that Kevin's from. Over to you, Kevin. A little bit about you.
I was born over there in the town that Di ended up in. And I spent, first 2/3 of my life over there, really. And then we moved over to America about 10 years ago. I'd met an American lady and married her. And she spent more time in the UK than she'd spent in America at that point. And then we made a decision a while ago to move over here. So now I'm in one of the South Chicago suburbs.
Very cool. So how did you guys first become interested in music, and when did you start playing your first instrument or singing?
Oh, wow. I can't remember not being interested, to be honest. And yeah, singing, playing any instruments I could get my hands on, from a tiny little kind of very small sort of keyboard or a little bit of even acoustic guitar or something like that. But mostly singing. Kevin, you were the same, started at a very young age, didn't you?
Yeah, I started really, really, really young. Music was always in the house. My parents weren't musicians, but music was just like a fundamental part of the house. My mother was a radio listener. She didn't like the TV, so we didn't actually have the TV on much. So it tended to be radio, which was either speech or she often had like the Radio 1 in the UK, which is like the top 40 station. So it's just always there. And I really, it became central to what I was doing.
That's so interesting because my mother was a radio listener as well. And of course, being in Canada, because she herself was from the UK, and she would listen to the World Service a lot. And I can still remember some of the sort of the theme music of the shows that she would listen to. And they tell me that the first thing I ever sort of got up and danced to, I was about 2 years old, and they were playing on the World Service, playing the Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand. And apparently I got up and started dancing to this immediately. So
I think a few people did that as well, so you weren't alone there.
That's right. They were quite big, weren't they, the Beatles?
I think okay.
I think they're the greatest band of all time.
Well, obviously, I had excellent taste even when I was 2.
I'm only just really catching up with just how important. I know this sounds ridiculous for somebody who says he likes music, but there's a particular podcast I've been listening to, and the guy dissects kind of what's going on with it and where it all comes from, and listening to the massive advances that they made. And really being made aware of them, and then they were the first people doing a lot of these things, the way that they were layering and multi-tracking and doing things.
Yeah.
Quite astounding, really.
Yeah.
And so much work. I think they did, towards the end, they did 3 LPs in about 14 months. And, the amount of work, there's no wonder that they split up. 13 years together in a room together, basically.
That's intense, isn't it?
Working. It's amazing one of them didn't kill another one,
Exactly. Who were some of your earliest music influences growing up?
Oh, gosh. Pretty much anything and everything, really. Anything from, sort of the kind of music that you encounter in schools and on the radio and so on. But I remember something, big figures growing up, I suppose. David Bowie, polystyrene, X-ray specs, massively important for me. Really, those two opened the doors to there being this massive musical subculture just below the surface that I didn't know about. I was like 13. I'd landed in the UK. It was all pretty alien to me. I didn't feel like I fit anywhere. And then once I found this little chink in the wall, this little hole that I could look through and see there's another world underneath this kind of boring, pop-oriented, kind of tedious middle-class suburban one. And immediately I got into that and just grew and blossomed from there.
Nice.
I started out, I was in bands from really, 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 really early. And of course, everybody played Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. And that, you know, and Black Sabbath. And it just never really did it for me. I don't like guitar solos. And that's kind of a problem, really, if you're doing that kind of music. And it was, you know, it was fine. And it was what it was. You know, Led Zeppelin were the alternative. You know, they weren't top 40, so that was it. And then I kind of got interested in prog rock, of all things, because it tended not to be like the heavy rock stuff. I just, you know, I didn't particularly like that. And then along came, well, I don't know what was first. I think probably early Elvis Costello and the Attractions, and listening to that and thinking, oh, this is fantastic. You know, these guys can play, but it's also, it's kind of guttural as well. Then the Ruts came along, and that was it. That was the chart, basically. Like, this is powerful, driving stuff that you know, it's got reggae and it's got all manner of things. It's socially conscious, and that was my turning point. You know, it turned me on to all manner of different things.
Yeah, I mean, the whole sort of alienated thing is obviously the thing that connected me with Bowie quite early on. Polystyrene just showed me that you could be a woman, and you didn't have to be some kind of chanteuse, just sort of bopping gracefully at the front. You could be fierce. And I liked that enormously. And then I came across Joy Division, and they were massively important to me as well. And from there, you can just, you know, branch out in 1,000 different directions and find just amazing stuff, really. It was, what a time to be a teenager. And what a place as well, in the north of England, where it was all happening, you know. It was all born just a few miles down the road to the west of where you and I were, Kevin.
Yep.
You know, it's what a time to be alive.
Your band, Lunar Paths, when did you guys form, and are there any other members besides yourselves?
Nope.
Just us two.
Okay.
It happened in, I think it was 2021, towards the end of 2021. And I just got this out of the blue communication through the social media, I think Messenger or something. And it was Kevin, and he said, "Is that you?" And I went, "Blimey, is that you?" And we literally haven't spoken to each other in decades. And we started chatting about the old band that we were in back in the 1980s. And did we want to remaster some stuff or re-record some stuff? And we said, well, not really, because there's been such a lot of interesting music that's gone under the bridge since then. Why don't we try and write new stuff? And we found that, you know, we both had a lot of common bands that we really, really liked. And we didn't even really know what kind of music we were going to make at the time. So we just started throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what stuck. Recorded a song called Sometime Never. And then we thought, well, that was fun. Let's do another one, and then another one. And then we started thinking, maybe we should, you know, share some of this with the rest of the world, because it's pretty good. And that's how we began, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of missed out the thing of learning how to actually do it all modern now as well. You know?
Yeah, I missed that, didn't I?
Learning how to use a DAW.
I had no clue about it. You know, I didn't, when people said, you know, oh, get yourself a DAW. I said, a what now? A DAW? Yeah, a digital audio workstation. Just download something and away you go. And that's exactly what I did. And it was a question of sitting there and learning how it worked, what it did. And I mean, YouTube was an absolute godsend, you know. It's like, okay, where do I find, how do I do a sidechain compression? How do I do that? Oh, there it is. That's how you do it. Great. Add that to the arsenal, on to the next thing. And it's really been, at times, a very steep learning curve. Sometimes, you know, my reach has exceeded my grasp, but eventually my grasp catches up, and then you want to push yourself even further. I mean, it's enormous fun. It really is. And compared to how we used to do things back in the day, with one eye on the studio clock all the time, thinking, well, it'd be really fun to try this out, try that out, but, you know, time is money. Now it's like, no, you can try stuff, you can see how it works. If it's awful, you can just scrub it, start again. You can really experiment. It's so liberating, so much fun.
Your debut album, Glimmer, came out earlier in 2024. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Kevin, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Di was just saying. It was really, the whole thing's just it's like a continuous line, really. And there's no real theme goes through it, although there's some sonic themes, and there's also the sonic themes, and then there's also musical themes going all the way through it, and we tied it all together. And it's really, we did it as a document of our journey, if you will, from starting to where we are now. And that's what we're trying to get over with that. We're trying to do something that's us, really, and hopefully people like it. But if they don't, then they don't. But we're not necessarily doing anything to tailor to anybody in particular, to a particular scene or to a particular thing.
I think that's an important issue, isn't it? I mean, it was very much the post-punk, dark wave, gothic community that reached out to us and said to us, "You're one of us. Come over to where we are," because the things, I mean, Kevin and I talked about bands that we'd liked, and it was definitely not gothic bands, bands like Avalanches we liked, KLF, The Streets, countless others that would not fall into those pigeonholes easily, and somehow we ended up back at our roots, but we put Glimmer together, as you say, as a kind of a document to try and articulate, I suppose, who we are.
I think the funny thing was sending stuff out to people that I knew, and they'd say, "Oh, you're really getting back to your old goth roots here." And I'm thinking, really, are we? Okay. Because that kind of came from an Underworld thing I was listening to, or, Yeah,
Underworld. There's another band we really like, It's and there's also, I mean, I'll go off and I'll listen to some duduk or something like this, sort of Armenian woodwind instruments. Or else you'll go and listen to some First Nation percussion, and then we come back and we throw all this together, and we end up, saying, "Oh, back to your goth roots." There, it's like, if you say so.
Awesome. This podcast will feature two of your tracks. The song called "Scene" and "September." Can you share the inspiration and the background behind these songs?
Scene is over to you for definite, Di.
Shall I go first with that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, I think that we don't really know what our music is going to be like until it's done. And Kevin had sent me this absolutely blistering load of sequences and 808s and this thundering percussion. And I started playing around with it. And for September, this is, I went and I found this really pretty little dulcimer sample and put it on. And it became, instead of this absolute barging mosh pit classic, it became this pretty little wistful song about mortality and, sort of approaching the end of your life. And not at all, I think, what either of us thought it was going to be at the beginning. And similarly, I suppose, Scene, I get this really lovely percussion coming through, and then I found some guitar samples. They were a little bit weedy, so I put them through some virtual amps, cranked them up a little bit. But it was really, in that case, it was some footage that you and your wife had shot, Kevin, while you were driving through Chicago at night, that put me in mind of something very urban, something about the sort of the joys and sorrows of living in a big city, and also at nighttime, and these little glimpses you get of the bright young things out there who are partying so hard, almost like to the extent that they're kind of annihilating themselves almost. And you think, what kind of sadness are they trying to hide that makes them party like this? And, what's going on there? I mean, I think we all know people like that, either personally or observed them from a distance. And just, you have to wonder at them and what they're all about, these people. Burning like fireworks in the night, aren't they? They're kind of brilliant and dazzling, and then they've gone.
When
the weirdest thing for me with that one, actually, when you mapped it out, when you mapped your vocal out, we went to Metro, one of the clubs in Chicago, and after the show that we'd been to see, it was there's like a gay night downstairs in the disco, and it was just like, it was just full of those characters. They're having a fantastic time, but you kind of be a little bit concerned about what's behind it, like you said.
Yeah, there's something they're having such a fantastic time. You think there's something very sad also being kind of dealt with in perhaps not a very kind of healthy way. Yeah.
When writing a new song, what comes first for you guys, the lyrics or the melody?
Never the lyrics, never the melody. They're always the very last things.
Our new one, remember, you've changed it around. You've led with the melody.
I have, yes. Now, there's a whole interesting project there that we probably need to talk about in a moment. But yeah, usually it's a case of maybe Kevin will send some percussion, or occasionally I will make like a drone or something, or come up with a little riff and say, hey, listen to this. Na, 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 na. What are you going to add to that? And then we ping it backwards and forwards across the Atlantic at each other until it starts to take shape. And for me, it's always the case that the melody is like the servant of the entire song. And then the lyrics have to fit with the kind of the vowels and the rhythm of the melody that I've just added towards the end of the process. So usually melody and then lyrics are at the very, very end for us. But yes, we've got a kind of an interesting project on the boil where I think we're allowed to talk about this.
Yeah, I think by this point we can, yeah.
I think we can, yeah. The Irish artist PMAD and an Australian band called Kill Toys and us, we're doing this really kind of fun little experiment where each of us writes a song and then each of us sends just the isolated drum tracks to the other two bands, and then they have to write a song based on what they've received from us. And then right at the end, we sort of reveal it all to each other, and we want to put this out as a little 9-track album. So that's what's in the pipeworks at the moment for us. That's kind of fun, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah. When's that going to come out?
Well, I'm nearing the end of the process of the first one. As Kevin just said, for a change, I've let my vocals lead a little bit, and I've started to write a vocal, and I'm doing a little tweak and a restructure of everything else around it. So the first one of mine, of ours, is nearly ready now. And then it's on to the next one. I don't know if Kevin wants to take the lead on that one or how that's going to work.
I actually started working on that last week.
Brilliant, awesome.
Getting some stuff through from that.
Fantastic.
And I think my gut feeling is that one will be a quicker one than the PMAD one was.
Yeah, I think so. I got that feeling too, so that's really good. And this is a lovely thing about working with Kevin. We're so much on the same wavelength as each other that it's not that thing that you get in bands sometime where you just can't get your ideas across to the other band members, or indeed they can't get their ideas across to us. We're very kind of instinctive. We're almost like finishing each other's sentences metaphorically and literally. It's a really nice working relationship. So I'm going to see
good trust as well. There's both of us are, tend to, if somebody has look, we should go with this. This is going to work. Then we'll go with it.
Yeah, exactly. This is as it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Because of the technology, we can say, yeah, try it. Let's see what it sounds like. If it sounds awful, we'll go down a different path and, just keep trying things out until something gels. But usually we're pretty quick. Usually it's like, that's a brilliant idea. Or I thought the same, or, and then you go off and you run to your little sample bank and you pull some stuff down, or you get your little MIDI keyboard out and try to write around it. Just endless fun. It is. It's so nice. It's so easy, the working is just, it just flows. It's so good. So yeah, that's a very long and convoluted, not very good answer to your question. I have no idea when it's going to come out. And I don't know how Kill Toys and PMAD are getting on at their end either, but I don't want to keep asking them or keep saying, we've nearly got one finished. How are you doing? Because that sounds a little bit kind of pressure-y, so
hurry up.
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't want to be that person.
Right. You don't want them to feel like they have to rush through it, right?
Exactly.
Seen is your latest single, correct?
Yes.
Now, are you guys working on more material to release another album in the year 2025?
We could do. I mean, it really depends on what we get. We've got this strange little project that I just described, of course, which is going to keep us busy for at least a couple of months. We've got a release coming out, which is our release for that project, early February time. I've got to get together and get some sort of promo video made for that as well. So it would be lovely to get an album together. But we also really, 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 really want to play live now. And that's also preoccupying quite a lot of our time and our thoughts. How can we make that happen? Kevin, do you want to, because you take the lead on this.
Yeah, because at my end of things now, what I'm trying to do is take the stems and the ideas from what we put on the LP, actually, so that we can do it live with the two of us as a live experience. You know, we don't just want to do a thing of, you know, run a hard drive and everything's on the hard drive and died as a vocal. You know, there'll be a fully live element to it, and there'll be a good degree of triggering loops and triggering samples, as well as some stuff on hard drive. So obviously that needs to be put together. And time is all, you know, if we're pouring anything, it's time. You know, like there's so many balls on the time. You know, Di, as well as putting the songs together, she actually does our social media as well, which, you know, is a full-time job in itself.
It really is, yeah. I was only talking about that the other day to another musician, actually. I think I mentioned to you, Kevin. Okay, I foster cats and kittens, and I just rehomed two of our current little foursome of pure black, little tiny, former feral male kittens. They've gone to a fabulous home, and turns out that this guy was a retired DJ, and he's played at Ministry of Sound. He's played all over the place, and but he was just saying exactly the same thing about social media. That, you know, you go into these things wanting to make some music, and you end up spending so much of your time generating content and trying to think, okay, I haven't posted for a while. What can I put up? What can I, you know, put up there just to keep my presence alive? The kittens come in quite handy, actually, because, you know, there's something about the post-punk dark wave gothic scene. People just can't get enough of cute kittens.
Yeah,
so
I
they're
love
quite
cats.
handy. Oh, they're wonderful. They're gorgeous things. I love them.
I have 3.
You see, I don't have any because I've got a little house in Greece, and I was supposed to move there, but Brexit screwed that up. Don't start me. So instead I foster when I'm in the UK, and I also work with a charity on the island of Crete called Cretan Catalyst. See what they did there. And it's really, really rewarding work. And I've rehomed over 50 cats and kittens, so far. And more to come, I'm sure. There's a never-ending supply of cats and kittens that need your help.
Bless definitely.
Them. Oh, yeah, they're lovely. So, Kevin, you're a dog person, Kevin.
Just pulling it back a little bit. I think I would imagine that we'll definitely have an EP out, if nothing else, you know, as well as individual releases. And I think that's what we did before we released an EP, Fuse, and then we put together Glimmer. And I suspect that we'll do the same thing, because we are constantly writing as well, even amongst all of these other things, mainly because that's why we started this, is to do the music, you know, like it really, really was. Sometimes you need to rein yourself in a little bit, you know, and remind yourself that that's what we're doing.
It's true.
And it's massively rewarding for us when we actually get that done. So as I say, I would imagine there'll be at least an EP, but knowing us, we're going to get another LP out.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for me, I really have to do one piece at a time, finish it, move on to the next one. And Kevin's already sent me some really lovely percussion, and I just really am so looking forward to working on that. But no, I've got to get this collaborative project pinned down and finished. I mean, it was my idea, and, you know, if I'm dropping the ball, I've got to sort of lead it from the front, as it were. So if I can get my stuff finished, then it will encourage the others to keep moving on with it. I know they are moving on. If they're listening to this, I know you're doing it, darling guys. But I just, as I say, I feel the onus is really on us and on me in particular, because it was my bright idea to make sure that I get the work done and prioritize it and push it to the top of the workload all the time.
Do you guys shoot music videos for all the singles that you put out too, or?
Yeah, we started that this time last year. I saw it come up on our TikTok. Mm-hmm. I realized that TikTok is a controversial thing to say in your part of the world at the moment. But yeah, it came up saying 1 year today, our video for Halo came out. And so that was the first one that we tried. I thought, I'm going to start trying to shoot some videos for these. Mm-hmm. And I mean, again, the technology that's at our disposal now, you can do incredibly good work with just a phone and some of the free video editing software that's out there, freely available online. Really, the sky's the limit. Your imagination is the only thing that, limits you. I think it's again immensely rewarding, satisfying, huge fun to do.
Mm-hmm. Is there a video for Scene?
Yes, there is. We have a YouTube channel, and so everything that we've done since January 2024 has got a video, a full-length video for it. Awesome. And the Scene one is very the sound of it is kind of retro. The look of it is kind of retro as well, as you'll say when you have a look at it. It's so much fun to kind of experiment with the different styles and influences and things that we like. And something that I posted the other day, again, you've mentioned influences before, and influence is such a it's an insidious thing. You don't actually think to yourself, oh, I'd quite like to sound a bit like them, and a bit of that. It's the things that you like, and then they kind of permeate into you. And one of the influences that Kevin and I think, both tap into is David Lynch, in terms of his filmmaking, in terms of the music that he makes, along with Angela Badalamenti, also his own recording. All of these things have an impact. And I posted the video that we made for a track of ours called New. I think on that track, especially with the visuals, but the sound of it as well, I think that's where we can really see those sort of Lynchian elements coming through. But yeah, just like the music, it's eclectic. We take a little bit of everything that we like and we don't do it consciously. It's just whatever comes out. Mm-hmm. We can look at it afterwards and go, oh, look, isn't that very like, I don't know, Jan Schwankmeyer or whoever, and it's really fascinating process to see how the things that you like do get under your skin and then come out in a new and interesting way. Mm-hmm. So yes, we make videos.
Awesome. Now, do you guys enjoy creating the music video as much as writing and recording the songs?
I think so. It's just a different facet of what we do. There's the artwork, and you try to make a kind of a coherent package out of all of it. Quite often when I start to put the visuals together, just like the music, I've no idea where it's going to go to. And then suddenly you just sort of get in there, you start filming stuff and you start sticking stuff together and it starts to take shape. And then there's times like we did this recording, a track called Cicada, that I put together when I was over in Greece. And I said to Kevin, there's something missing. There's some visual thing here. And I'm not getting it. And he said, what about something like a slowly swinging light bulbs? And I went, that's it. And, this is him again with his rhythmic sensibility coming into it and his ability to translate that into something visual where I couldn't find it. And it's an incredibly effective moment where these light bulbs are sort of slowly swinging to and fro. It's a lovely thing. So, yeah, we enjoy it. We do it in a similar kind of way that, ideas fly to and fro, and eventually the whole thing consolidates. I should give a shout out to my long-suffering husband here as well, because he's often the guy either doing playback for me while I'm running around with a selfie stick or something, or indeed he's the guy pointing a phone at me in the middle of the night in some bug-infested field in the middle of Crete somewhere while I'm sort of lip syncing to. Yeah. So kudos to my husband for me sort of snapping and shouting at him and saying, not like that, do it like this. He's a huge help and a huge support to the things that I do.
Is your director?
Well, he has got a fine art background, and he does get these brilliant ideas as well. Again, the cicada video, he came up with this strange kind of freeze frame, shuddery kind of motions, and he had me there laying on our roof terrace in Greece in the middle of the night, and he's saying, and move and freeze, and move and freeze. And I had no idea what he was doing. And then I look at it and it's bloody amazing. Suddenly I'm this sort of transformed into some sort of bug lady. It was amazing. So yeah, he's a terrific creative input as well as, just being incredibly long suffering and patient with.
Now that song that you're talking about, Cicada, that's about the insects, right?
That's right. Yeah.
The ones that make all the noise.
Yeah. Totally incessant, relentless drilling away from dawn till dusk. And I mean, they're such a kind of a fascinating creature. They're so kind of other from, insects are generally, but cicadas particularly, they have this kind of, they start off in the ground and then they come out and leave a little ghost dangling on a tree somewhere, and then they go off and live their lives almost like the reverse process of humans. So it was another one of those songs about what appears to be a bit of a favorite subject of mine, which is, human frailty, human mortality, the limited time span that we have on this earth, and what are we going to do? Well, the cicadas sort of, they go out and they party and they have sex and they dance and they die, and that sounds fairly good. That'll do.
Go out in style or go out with a bang, right?
That's right, absolutely.
So when you guys aren't writing and recording music, what do you like to do for fun?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I'm just so busy all of the time. I suppose, you go and see films, you go and see music, you go and just take in whatever kind of cultural events are happening around you. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, I mean, I don't have an awful lot of time outside of doing the music, doing the work with the feral cats and kittens and whatnot. I mean, Kevin's the same. He's madly busy, aren't you?
Yeah, I still work, but I like, I go to shows, go to gigs whenever I can, and do stuff like that. But it really kind of comes back to the music. It's like that really is our fun, as well as everything else that's involved with it. And it sounds really twee to say that, but it's very much the truth of it.
It really is true.
So very invested in every aspect of it, and even the bits like Di does most 99% of the video stuff. Di and John. But even then, I'm still involved in it, by proxy. Or I'm aware of some of what's going on with the whole thing, and obviously you cheer that along and want that to be, what the best that it can be. We're very, very, very busy, but this is the fun part of it.
And when I get over to Chicago, I'm going to be filming and photographing Kevin 24/7 because I have no footage of him and I need photos and footage to put into stuff. And he's going to think he's like living with the paparazzi by the time I'm finished with him. I'll just be in his face 24/7.
Where can the listeners go to learn more about you?
We have a website. Mm-hmm. That's probably a good place to start. I mean, reading about the huge number of massive people that Kevin's worked with is really interesting in itself. Website's very easy. It's lunarpaths.com. Lunar Paths, all one word. It's very easy. Sorry?
You forget for a minute then.
I did. Well, I thought, hang on, it's www.lunarpaths.com, isn't it? And I thought, I would just go in. Nobody just says www anymore. Yeah. You'll sound ancient if I say it's on the Tinterweb. Lunarpaths.com is probably a good place to start. We've got a bio on there. We've got links to all our music, to all our videos, reviews, etc., etc., etc. The website is probably a good place to begin. And then you can find our social media as well.
Awesome. Is there anything you'd like to mention that we didn't talk about today?
I don't know. I mean, I was just jotting while I was waiting to come on air with you about the kind of things that we've got done this last year. And I mean, certainly the making of the full-length videos and the release of Glimmer were right up there. But we've started to do things as well, like just do these collaborative things. It started off when Kevin suggested I got in touch with Safira V, because she was looking for women producers to do remixes with. So I did a remix for her. There was also the takeover of our dear friend Limey Git's show, Much Ado About Bugger All, which I think he's pretty much stepped down and retired from that, which is a great shame because it was fun. But, I'd never sort of put together a radio show before, so I did a couple of takeovers for him. And then Kevin and I started off by doing a takeover of that together. So that was fun. It's kind of like every year has new challenges, new rampings up. A fun thing that happened maybe, I think it was November time, to mark our 3rd birthday. The record label Violet Hour Transmissions put Glimmer out as a cassette, and a cassette with a sort of a download code attached to it, etc., 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 which was really nice. I mean, we talked a little bit today about advances in technology, and somehow cassettes and so on are trendy again. It's a fascinating thing, but it's very, very nice to be asked to do it. Go on, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, talking about that, it's really funny at work, having one of the guys at work with a young guy, and he's a nascent DJ, and he came to me one day and said, "Yeah, I've got these cassettes. Have you come across them at all?" Almost like he discovered this new thing. Bless him.
I know. It's so funny. I had a similar situation where I was on a radio show very, very early in the day. I think they were playing one of our things off the Fuse EP, Derive, that was it. And there was like a 25-year-old young singer, Chloe somebody, sorry, I've forgotten her name. Then she said, do you know who you remind me of? Have you ever heard of a singer called Kate Bush? Yes, I have. I'm as old as time itself. Of course I have. But, it's kind of a mixed thing because I'm not a huge fan of Kate Bush. But, bless her, she wasn't to know. And I went, oh, that's very kind of you. That's very sweet. And, bless them. Young people. God love them.
That's funny. Anything else you guys want to mention, or?
I don't know. I mean, other than the desperate need to play live, which is really kind of top of our tree at the moment. Kevin,
there's a lot of going into that to try to, get some shows. We want to start over in America and do shows in America first and see what we can do there and, string together what would effectively be a tour, I guess, because obviously Di's going to have to come across for that. So it's not like we can do it every weekend, and do two shows there, so we'll together a decent string. But we just figure that given our backgrounds, and how far back we go with this, it's going to be fantastic.
We're going to absolutely slay. What I'd quite like to do is just come over and maybe in the first instance, just rehearse, routine some stuff, do maybe 2 or 3 dates even, and then invite some people to those. And then I can disappear back over to Europe for a bit, and then we can work on the strength of what we've done there, and then hopefully maybe get, as you say, a little tour together of half a dozen to a dozen dates, and then just grow it little by little like that. It's the way it is. I mean, we've got the Atlantic Ocean between us, but that's not going to stop us. We're fairly determined that we really, really want to make this happen.
That would be awesome if you guys were able to do some shows in the U.S.
It really would. I can't wait. It'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on the show and sharing your stories and your music. I really dig what I've heard so far, and I'm really looking forward to hearing that project when it comes out and when you release that EP. I'd love to have you guys back on the show to discuss those projects with me if you would like to do that.
We'd love to be there. We'd love to be there. Perhaps we could even get a couple of Kill Toys and PMAD to join us in a great big mega Zoom kind of interview situation. That would be so much fun.
That would definitely
be cool,
be fun.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I could really be good. I could really put my Zoom mixer to work there.
Excellent.
I'll keep you in the loop on that, James, as we're going along with things.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Yeah, let's definitely stay in touch. Like I said, when that stuff comes out, let's do something, all right?
Well, this has been a pleasure. Thank you very much, and we'd be happy to come back. That would be a delight. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, let's stay in touch, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day, all right?
We will. It's getting on for gone 5:30 at night here, so I think I'm winding things down a little bit, and tomorrow is another day, as they say.
Sounds good. You're welcome. Like I said, you're welcome back anytime, and let's keep in touch, all right?
We will. Thank you very much.
All right, you guys take care.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
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 I want to thank Diane and Kevin for dropping in the show today and sharing their music and their stories. And as always, it's our tradition to conclude the show with a musical selection. Therefore, from the album Glimmer, I present to you September.
Show is a weekly radio podcast produced by Jimmy Howell Productions. All rights reserved. For information regarding distribution or adding this podcast to your website, please visit our contact page at therecordmachineshow.com to submit your request. Thanks for listening. See you next time on The Record Machine Show.
The Record Machine Show.